what it is to be doing a good job. They want their leaders to be visionary. And just let's say, most of them don't think their leaders are. Okay? Some are really hard for vision. And you have to learn how to do it well. I'll admit to it, I'm not great either. Business. And they want you to be hardworking and organised. They also are interested about things about you. So, your skills. And they'll talk a lot about a range of things which we can sum up as having integrity, walking the talk. So, behaving as you are talking and espousing. So, if you say that you value staff, behave in a way that values staff. Include them. Yeah? Talk to them. Okay? Reward them when they deserve rewarding. And often, through the drive for profitability, we don't do that. They also talk a lot about leadership, but they talk about it in a particular way, and they talk about it in a way of talking about taking responsibility. The third area has been about staff focus, and this is where I thought the main focus would be, but actually, when we looked at the data and what we got back, it's the area they talk about the least. Okay. But it's essential to deliver on successful business. So they want you to be people-centered. That means they want you to know about who they are, what their background is, okay? Who their kids are, what's going on in their family life, not necessarily a lot, but enough so that you can be flexible when you're responding to their needs in the workplace. Okay? And they want you to be a developer, and that's absolutely important. We've talked about earlier on change. As a leader, it's your job to make sure that they are resilient and have that resilience to embrace change, rather than just looking at the people who can't change and don't want to change as failures. Okay? If you've got those people in your organisation, well, one, it's normal, but you've got to recognise it's your job to give them the ability to change. In effect, they're not the failures. The leaders are. Okay? We've got to motivate them, but motivation isn't enough. We've got to give them the skills, the ability, and the resilience, and the confidence to change. So, just bearing in mind that these are UK focused, from UK leaders and UK staff, these are what we call the positive leadership practices. I'm moving on to the last phase now. So what should you do about it? Well, if you're in the UK, I would say you might want to think about how these could be applied to Indonesia, but I wouldn't necessarily say you're going to find exactly the same things out here. I'd be saying to you, go and familiarise yourself with them. Think about, am I really doing this? And I'd ask you to move beyond wishful thinking. Be absolutely honest with yourselves as leaders. Are you really listening to enterprises and their leaders? I did it once in September, and the next March I did it again, and the same guy turned up. I said, what are you doing here? You've already done this workshop. You do know it's the same thing, right? He went, yes. Colleagues who own businesses, that none of my staff wanted to develop them, and that they really weren't interested. I went back and I sent an email and I walked around the office to all my staff and said, can you please tell me if you want any development? He said, by the end of that day, He says within 4 hours of the workshop, I had 7 proposals fully formed on my desk, telling me what they wanted to do in terms of development and how much it would cost and where we would go and do it. He said that totaled to £10,000. I couldn't but invest. I had to pay out that £10,000. And he says, I've got no problem. I also learned that 2 of those 7 had job offers elsewhere, and they were crucial to my company. If I hadn't given them that development, they would have left. So thank you for 1, making me embarrassed, 2, for making me spend £10,000, because losing those people would have cost me a lot more. Okay? He wasn't a bad guy in any way. Okay? But he wasn't being honest with himself about whether he was really listening to his staff. He wasn't going out and talking to them, and he wasn't developing them. Okay? Because he'd made assumptions. Okay? So, I'd be asking you, what one small thing are you going to do by Wednesday? Because it won't necessarily, most times it doesn't cost you £10,000, but it might make you be a bit more honest with yourself about what you're really doing these positive leadership practices. So, I'm now going to push you a little bit on the so what. So what there's these positive leadership practices and people think in these ways. Okay? First of all, it's incumbent on you to develop your own leadership practices. Okay? But not just that, you will have other leaders within your organisation, within your business that you're responsible for. You need to encourage and push those leaders to develop their own positive leadership practices, giving them useful, friendly, but clear advice. Okay? I do have 2 tools to go with this. I have a self-report tool, and I have a 360-degree tool that people can use for positive leadership practices. The best feedback on the 360-degree tool always comes from line managers. Okay? Other colleagues and staff are always too positive. Line managers are usually, in the feedback that we get, more positive on most of the aspects than the person receiving the feedback, but less positive than 2 or 3. Okay? And that is a clear idea of where people need to work. Cultivate in yourself, but also in others, the habits of behaviour that lead to ethical action. Okay? Call yourself out when you've done something that you're not so proud of. Think about why, and then think about how you can, and act on how you can do that differently. Okay? If you do it 7 times, you'll probably keep on doing that forever. Yeah? You'll kind of become a habit. So go and think about those times when you need to do things differently. And then consciously use those opportunities provided to you to promote ethical action. But we're going to talk a little bit about what those opportunities might be. And I know that this is something I created years ago to just think about what leaders can do to promote ethics in business. First of all, top left, internally focused to our business and using our explicit power, we as leaders need to set the moral tone. Okay? And we often will do that through policy, but mostly it happens through the way that we act. What we do, how we behave. Internally again, but maybe more implicit, soft power is about how we go about educating and training people, telling them what is acceptable and not acceptable within our business, through training courses, through education, through that mentoring that we give